Hey everyone, welcome to Jarvie Writes. If you enjoy dark fantasy, shadow-filled cities, and stories where the line between hero and monster isn't always clear, welcome home. This channel is where I share the stories set in the world of Veyrith, a city built on whispers, shadows, and buried secret. Within its streets move hunters, cultists, and powers that most people never see. Stories that usually live in the dark. Here, we're bringing those chapters into the light. The first of these stories is The Black Feather. It follows Quincy, a hunter bound to a living shadow, leaving only black feathers behind as a warning to those who would bring darkness into the city. But the cult he hunts is only the beginning. Something deeper is moving beneath the surface of Veyrith, and it has begun to notice him. Now, let's begin. The Black Feather. Chapter 1. The night was a still pond, breathless, heavy. Even the insects held quiet, as if the dark were listening. Somewhere beyond the tree line, a wolf howled, its cry swallowed by fog rolling low across the fields. The half-moon hung sickly in the sky, casting just enough light to make the world feel unreal. Perfect for Quincy's work. He crouched atop a crumbling stone wall, motionless but for the slow rise and fall of his chest. Each breath measured, trained. Mist clung to his dark hair, and his pale gray eyes swept the camp below. Sharp, patient, predatory. The fog curled around him like a cloak until he seemed less man than shadow. Below, a goblin raiding party huddled around a dying campfire. Their guttural chatter scraped through the stillness like rusted blades. Wiry bodies, mottled green skin, spindly limbs and jagged teeth flashing as they tore at charred meat. Patchwork armor creaked when they shifted, bones rattling from cords around their necks. Quincy counted under his breath.
1,
A goblin gnawed on a blackened bone near the fire.
2, 3,
2 more squatted nearby, arguing in low growls.
4,
The orc stood apart, massive shoulders, great axe resting across one arm. Leader by posture alone.
5,
Another goblin shuffled into the firelight, reaching for scraps. Quincy's eyes narrowed. That should be all. He scanned again, slower now. Not shapes, movement, disruption. The way shadows should fall. The tree line whispered. A sliver of moonlight caught on drawn string.
6,
There. A sniper nested in the canopy, bow already drawn. Quincy stilled completely. One mistake and the sniper would see him. One breath too loud and the orc would rally the pack. His heartbeat slowed until it matched the night's rhythm. He whispered, softer than the fog.
Seal.
The words scraped faintly at his throat. A thin black line traced itself across the sniper's neck, curling into a raven feather sigil. The mark fixed like a hunter's claim. The goblin stiffened, its breath hitched. Air refused to move cleanly. Panic flared as it tried to shout and found only a strangled rasp. Not silence, just enough interference. Enough. Quincy loosed. The arrow struck the goblin's eye with a wet snap. The body toppled from its perch without a cry, swallowed by brush and fog. The others laughed, unaware. Quincy moved before the sound faded. He dropped from the wall, boots touching earth without a whisper.
Submit.
Darkness spilled from his palm, thick as ink. It didn't create night. It smothered light. Fire dulled, glow vanished. Sight collapsed into murk. The darkness took their vision, not his. To Quincy, the world remained sharp, just stripped of mercy. Goblins shrieked.
Was it? I can't.
His rapier slipped between ribs. The body fell behind him. A bowstring twanged in panic. A goblin fired blind. The arrow hissed through darkness and struck nothing. A scream followed, then another. Blood scented the air. To them, the night had turned predator. Quincy moved through the darkness as if it were clear daylight. To him, nothing was obscured. Edges remained sharp. Targets remained visible. Only his enemies were blind. A brush of cloth, a flash of steel. One goblin collided with him and died before understanding why. Another fled. Quincy didn't chase. He drew, loosed, listened for the fall. The orc roared, furious and blind. Its great axe carved a brutal arc. Quincy stepped back just in time as iron split air where his chest had been. The recoil shuddered up his arms. Good strength, good instincts. The orc swung again, wider, angrier. Quincy slipped inside the strike and drove his rapier beneath its ribs. The roar collapsed into a wet snarl. Darkness thinned. Silence returned. The orc lay near dying embers, blood pooling dark beneath its throat. Bubbles slipped between its tusks as it tried to curse him. Quincy stood over it, breathing a touch heavier.
You led them well. Better than most.
He drove the blade down. The orc jerked once, then stilled. Fog swallowed the camp. Bodies lay scattered, each marked by black feathers. His signature, his warning. Quincy knelt and drew a real feather from his cloak. It shimmered faintly, drinking moonlight like ink on parchment.
Witness this light end, and know the darkness spreads.
He pressed the feather to the orc's brow. Shadowlight flickered. Something answered. Not a soul, not a voice. An echo, the imprint of will, the last trace of presence. It unspooled into the feather like a final breath. Warmth brushed his fingers. The body twitched once, then lay truly empty. Quincy exhaled slowly. The ritual always left a pressure behind his eyes, a weight behind the ribs. The voice slid into his mind like smoke. Never far, never close.
Good, Quincy. More. More feathers. More darkness.
Chapter 2. Masks and Mirrors. The city of Veyrith was never truly silent. It only changed what it was hiding. By day, its narrow streets rang with hammers, merchants, and the shrill cries of peddlers hawking everything from honey-glazed figs to knives of questionable sharpness. Smoke curled from 100 chimneys, the air thick with coal, bread, and sweat. By night, the city changed its face. Lamps were lit, doors were barred, different people ruled the streets. The noise didn't vanish. It shifted. Laughter spilled from taverns. Footsteps whispered down alleys. Secrets changed hands in the dark alongside stolen coin. In Veyrith, darkness wasn't an absence of light. It was a currency. Tonight, fog rolled low through the streets, curling around wagon wheels and lamp posts. The moon hung sharp above jagged rooftops, painting the world in silver and shadow. Quincy moved through it like he belonged, though he didn't. He never stayed long enough anywhere to belong. His hood was drawn low, hiding most of his face. Only a glint of gray eyes betrayed him beneath the cowl. His lean frame was built for speed, his dark leathers broken only by muted steel along his forearms and chest. A rapier hung at his hip, its hilt dulled by use, and a longbow rode across his back. At a glance, he was just another sellsword, but to those who looked closer, small tells betrayed the truth. The way his eyes tracked rooftops and doorways, how his right hand hovered near his weapon, and the faint scent of smoke and singed feather that clung to him like memory. As he turned the corner, voices cut through the fog.
"We'll keep you safe,"
Gideon promised, crouching to speak at eye level with a frightened child clutching her mother's skirts. The woman's voice trembled.
"You caught them then? The raiders?"
Gideon's smile came easily, the kind that steadied people.
"Not yet,"
he said gently.
"but we will. That's my word."
When they moved on, he exhaled quietly.
"Gods, let me not be wrong,"
he murmured, rubbing the bridge of his nose before straightening and heading toward the tavern. The silver gull crouched near the docks, its sign, a chipped wooden gull, swaying on rusty chains. The building leaned like a drunk mid-stumble, its windows glowing amber. Inside, pipe smoke and spilled ale thickened the air. Laughter clashed with a cracked lute. Sailors, smugglers, and hired blades filled the room. A perfect place to vanish. Quincy entered without inviting eyes. His gaze swept until it found her. Marla. Small and sharp-featured, ember hair catching the lantern light. Green eyes that never stopped moving. Rings glittered on nimble fingers. Wealth that could disappear quickly if needed. Fine fabric layered with street leather. Marla didn't survive Veyrith's shadows. She steered through them. Before Quincy reached her table, the room shifted. Mayor Gideon Valen had entered. Men straightened. Voices softened. Even drunks paid attention. Gideon greeted the barkeep, clasped hands, traded words that drew smiles. A young woman stepped into his path.
Mayor Valen, thank you for keeping us safe.
His response was warm but measured.
Veyrith keeps itself safe. I just help organize it.
When she left, the warmth eased from his expression. Not gone, just set aside. Marla smirked as Quincy sat.
Half the city would follow him into a fire,
She murmured.
The other half hopes he never asks.
He's too bright for this city,
Quincy said.
And you're too dark. Yet here we are.
Quincy set a small black feather on the table. Marla's breath caught.
That's recent.
It's done. The raiders won't return.
Word will spread. The black feather leaves warnings written in bodies.
Fear is faster than patrols.
The lamplight flickered. The scent of burnt feather edged his breath. A whisper slid into his mind.
Another thread pulls loose, little shadow. Follow it.
Pressure settled behind his eyes. Familiar now. Marla frowned.
You drifted.
Just tired.
She didn't buy it, but let it pass. Instead, she slid a parchment across.
A priest in the lower ward. Blood rights. Loyal followers. Claims the crows carry his sight.
Quincy unfolded it. A crude sketch stared back. Hollow cheeks, dark eyes. The crow-eyed priest. A faint unease prickled. The ritual words from earlier brushed his memory, unbidden. He folded the parchment.
Where?
Old clock tower. And if anyone asks, I never heard the name.
Her hand caught his wrist.
Be careful. Even the guard avoids that tower.
His smile was thin.
Then it won't be crowded.
He slipped back into the fog. The city murmured beneath him as he crossed rooftops. Tied against dock, wagon wheels, distant song. Another whisper followed.
Feathers gather, Quincy. Each one brings you closer.
He ignored it, but his steps grew sharper. A feather slipped free from his cloak, unnoticed by everyone but the night, spinning once before vanishing into the fog below. Later. The mayor's hall stood taut with tension. Marble columns, silver crests of House Valen, symbols of order that grew heavier each night. Gideon leaned over the council table.
This is organized.
He said.
Not random violence.
A lieutenant shifted.
We have rumors, sir, not proof. Rumors leave bodies.
Gideon replied evenly.
Proof just arrives later.
A voice cut in from the doorway. Marla.
Or you could listen to the people who hear things before they become reports.
The lieutenant bristled. Gideon silenced him with a look.
You're confident?
He asked. Marla's smile was thin.
Confident enough to warn you.
She nodded toward the window.
Your black feather is already stirring the nest.
Gideon frowned.
And this vigilante?
Is solving problems.
She said calmly.
Whether you like the method or not.
She turned to leave.
Keep your guards close tonight, Captain.
She added.
The city's about to shift.
The door closed behind her. Murmurs filled the chamber. Gideon stayed still a moment longer. Veyrith needed order, and he would give it one. However, he had to. The city square was packed shoulder to shoulder, a sea of anxious faces flickering in torchlight. Merchants, dockhands, sweepers, beggars, all pressed together beneath the pale moon. Along the edges, a line of guards stood stiff and unsure, halberds catching dull glints of firelight. At the top of the council steps stood Gideon Valen. Even in the suffocating unease, he was steady, authority cutting through fog. His golden hair caught the firelight. His navy coat, trimmed with silver, marked him a Valen. Tonight, the legacy sat heavier than usual.
People of Veyrith,
Gideon called, voice clear and even.
I know you're afraid. There are whispers of disappearances in the lower wards, of symbols carved into doors, of blood in the streets.
A ripple moved through the crowd.
These are not idle rumors,
He went on, jaw set.
There is a cult at work here, one that thrives on fear and chaos. I will not allow them to break what we've built.
A woman near the front shouted.
Where were the guards when my son went missing?
Anger rose like a tide. Gideon lifted a hand. His expression stayed calm. His tone gained an iron edge.
The guard is mobilizing. We're hunting those responsible, and we will bring them to justice.
From a rooftop shrouded in fog, Quincy watched. Gray eyes unreadable. Gideon's words were smooth, practiced, a man who needed belief as much as order. But Quincy saw the small things, the crease at Gideon's brow, the hand gripping the rail a fraction too tight, the way his gaze kept tracking the crowd like it might fracture. The crowd felt it too, if not consciously, then in their nerves. Their murmur braided hope and doubt, faith and resentment. A crow landed near Quincy, talons clicking softly on tile. It cawed once, almost accusing, then cocked its head as if listening to something Quincy couldn't hear. Quincy's mouth tightened.
Crow-eyed priest. I'm close. Saw,
He breathed. Shadow loosened around him. Fog swallowed the outline of his body. A heartbeat later, he was gone, leaving only a scatter of drifting feather shapes that looked like soot in moonlight. As the crowd dispersed, Marla slipped to Gideon's side like smoke finding a seam.
You did well.
She said.
Mostly.
I don't need your approval, Marla.
No,
She agreed lightly.
but you do need my information, and my network just delivered something interesting.
Gideon kept his composure by habit.
Go on.
Their leader, the one they call the Crow-Eyed Priest, is holed up in the old clock tower on the edge of the lower ward.
You're certain.
Certain enough that if you don't act tonight, you may not get another chance.
He did the math instantly. A proper mobilization would take hours. Hours they didn't have.
Ready the men.
He told his captain.
I want a team at the tower before dawn.
Marla's smile turned sly.
Oh, Gideon. Always so procedural.
His eyes narrowed.
What does that mean?
It means while you're polishing halberds and drawing maps,
She said sweetly.
someone else is already moving.
He didn't like that. He didn't have time to.
Move!
He snapped to his men.
Now!
The old tower smelled of ash and rust. Moonlight leaked through jagged holes in the roof, striping the chamber below like broken prison bars. The place hunched like a dying beast, walls blackened and strangled with vine. High in the rafters, Quincy crouched. The beam creaked but held. Below, 6 cultists circled a cracked altar, spaced like points on a wheel. Their tattered robes dragged through blood-slick stone. Their chant rasped like rusted metal. Rhythmic. Wrong. The taste of iron and rot coated Quincy's tongue. At the center stood his target. The crow-eyed priest, tall and gaunt, scalp gleaming with sweat. Spiraling black tattoos crawled down his skull and throat like shackles, seeming to shift when Quincy tried to follow them. His eyes, gods, his eyes, shimmered oily green, reflecting torchlight like carrion glass. Even from above, Quincy felt the wrongness radiating from him. Power, hunger, dangerous. He'd thought that before. He touched 2 fingers to his bowstring.
Seal.
A black feather sigil bloomed on the far cultist's throat. The lookout. The man clawed silently at the mark, warning trapped behind failing breath. Too late. Quincy loosed. The arrow punched through the eye. The body folded without a sound. The circle didn't break. Quincy moved before the fall could speak, boots kissing beam, cloak slicing air.
Submit.
Darkness blossomed. Torchlight vanished. Moonlight smothered. The chamber collapsed into black. The darkness took their sight, not his. Cultists shrieked, stumbling blind. Steel whispered. A ribcage parted. A body fell. Another arrow found soft flesh. A gasp, cut short. Panic shattered the circle. Then the priest laughed. Cold, jagged, certain. Emerald light detonated inside the void. Tattoos flared like a rising sun. The darkness didn't fade, it fractured. Quincy staggered as his shadowcraft buckled, edges peeling back like torn cloth. The priest advanced, haloed in sick green.
You will drown in your own night.
Fire surged. Quincy dove behind a broken pillar. Heat licked his forearm. Skin blistered. Too strong. Not head-on. The priest's voice climbed.
You are mine.
Quincy's fingers closed on the feather charm at his throat. Not power. Position.
Saw.
Shadow snapped loose. He dissolved into motion and reformed high on a crossbeam, lungs burning. The priest twisted, shaping another spell. Too slow.
Seal.
The sigil flared at the priest's throat, not choking, not silencing, but tethering breath to Quincy's intent for a single beat. The priest's eyes widened. Quincy loosed. The arrow struck where the mark demanded. The emerald glow flickered.
Saw.
Quincy reappeared behind him, rapier already moving. The blade slid between ribs, clean and final.
You were never the hunter,
Quincy murmured. The priest collapsed. Silence returned in slow waves. The green glow died. Tattoos dulled to ink. The remaining cultists lay scattered, undone by speed they never understood. Quincy stood over the body, chest heaving. Not fear. Cost. Too close. A whisper slid through his mind. And yet you triumphed. He didn't answer. He drew an obsidian feather, his mark, his message.
Witness this light end,
he murmured. He did not press it to the priest. Not here. Not with that emerald residue clinging to the air. He tucked it away instead.
Saw.
Feathers, mist, gone. Boots echoed up the stairwell minutes later. Gideon entered with 2 guards, ash-smudged and tight-jawed.
By the gods!
One breathed. Gideon said nothing. His gaze moved across scorched stone and broken bodies, stopping at the priest. Heart split clean.
No battle this precise happens by accident,
Gideon said quietly.
Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing.
Something near the corpse caught moonlight. A feather, impossibly black, drinking light. Gideon picked it up. Warm. Wrong.
Sir?
A guard whispered.
Is that the black feather?
The name already carried weight. Gideon slid it into his coat.
Spread the word. The priest is dead. but his flock isn't. We stay sharp.
A nervous laugh followed. At least we didn't fight him. Whoever this black feather is, he did the hard work.
Gideon didn't smile. He glanced once at the rafters, then the fog drifting through the broken roof. Anyone who could do this alone was not an ally. As he turned to leave, his fingers brushed the feather through his coat. The city had gained a protector, or something far more dangerous than it realized. Chapter 4. Threads in the Dark. The room was silent, save for the soft hiss of a single lantern. Its pale flame guttered at the center of a round table, casting long, clawed shadows along the walls. The tabletop was old and scarred, a broken circle symbol carved deep into the wood as if by talons. 5 figures sat around it, faces swallowed by darkness beyond the lantern's reach. Only silhouettes showed, one hunched and wiry, one thin and straight-backed like a blade, one massive, broad as a door frame. The air itself seemed to bend around them, heavy with power and the copper tang of old blood. For a long breath, nothing. Then a smooth, calculating voice cut the quiet.
The crow-eyed priest has fallen.
The flame wavered, licking pale fingers steepled in thought. Across the table, a low growl rose into a roar that rattled the lantern.
Unacceptable. The priest was meant to root out this pest, not die like some nameless wretch.
The thin figure beside him laughed, dry and rasping.
Perhaps he was weaker than we believed, or perhaps the shadow is stronger. Either way, this was not design, merely chance, for now.
The massive figure surged to his feet, chair scraping as he blotted out the lantern's glow.
Enough whispers.
His fists slammed into the table, cracking ancient wood.
Give the word, and I'll hunt him through every alley and sewer until I tear him apart.
The smooth voice slid through his fury.
And if you fail, Enforcer? Quiet, precise, almost amused.
The storm held, barely. Then another voice spoke. The room stilled, regal, resonant. When it spoke, the air hummed.
The blade comes to cut.
A pause, heavy as a held breath.
And so must be plucked.
The others bowed their heads a fraction. Not reverence, but instinct. The regal shadow leaned forward.
Go, Enforcer. Leave a mark the others can follow. Draw the shadow into our snare. Let him believe he hunts us, until the moment we close our talons around his throat.
The Enforcer's reply rumbled thick with hunger.
Consider it done.
He strode into the darkness beyond the lantern's reach. The calculating voice spoke last, soft and cold.
Send a message. Not for him. For the flock who think themselves safe.
The lantern guttered once and went out. Darkness swallowed the chamber whole. The world returned to Quincy in fragments. First sound, a distant metallic clang echoing through the hollow tower. Then pain, sharp and bright beneath his ribs. Then boots climbing the stair, heavy, deliberate.
By the gods!
Someone whispered.
What happened here?
Quincy's eyes fluttered open. Even that hurt. He forced stillness, pressing himself into the soot-black ribs of the rafters. Each breath scraped shallow. The last soar still echoed in his bones, the kind of pull that left muscle trembling after shadow released him. Memory returned in jagged flashes. The priest, emerald fire, the final strike. He'd soared to the rafters on instinct, not precision. The landing had cost more than he'd meant to spend. If he moved now, they'd find him. Moonlight spilled through the shattered roof, painting ruin in silver. Broken beams, scorched stone, bodies scattered like discarded puppets.
Clear the area.
Gideon ordered below.
Every corner.
The guard. They made it. Too fast. The tower lay far from the city's heart. If they were here already, word had spread, or someone had been watching. He held his breath as Gideon entered, flanked by guards. Ash streaked his coat, sweat darkened his hair. His movements were measured, but his gaze was sharp, mapping angles, damage, intent.
This place,
one guard muttered.
It feels cursed. Focus,
Gideon said. He studied the corpse briefly, eyes tracing the wound, the scorch marks, the spacing of the dead.
No battle this precise happens by accident.
Something near the doorway caught the light. A feather, plain and black.
Black feather,
a guard whispered. The name settled heavy in the air. Gideon bent and picked it up, turning it once between his fingers. No awe, no gratitude. Assessment. He slid it into his coat. A guard laughed nervously.
Well, whoever he is, he saved us the trouble.
Gideon's reply was quiet, firm.
No, this wasn't done for us.
Orders followed. Boots retreated. Steel shifted. The tower slowly emptied. Quincy waited long after the last echo faded. Only when silence felt real did he move. Soar, he breathed. The shadow took him reluctantly this time, like a cloak dragged through mud. He reformed on a nearby rooftop with a stumble, ribs flaring hot in protest. He stayed low, breathing through it, until the tower lay far behind. By dawn's creep, he reached the Silver Gull. Marla was already there, copper hair catching thin light. When she saw him, surprise snapped to anger. Then to relief, she quickly buried.
Gods, Quinn, what did you do?
Priest was stronger than expected.
She shoved a vial into his hand.
Drink. Slowly.
He didn't. The potion burned down his throat like cheap liquor, then spread warmth through his chest, dulling the worst of the pain without erasing it.
You're reckless,
she said.
You're supposed to be a ghost, not a martyr.
I'm still standing.
Barely.
Her voice slipped.
Keep this up, and they'll know your face.
He didn't answer. Every hour he waited was another hour the flock breathed. He rose.
Then I'll move faster than their rumors.
Across the city, Gideon turned a black feather in torchlight.
People are whispering,
a captain said.
Some say savior, some monster. Fear doesn't care what you call it,
Gideon replied.
It rots a city from within.
He slid the feather into his pocket. Veyrith was gaining a protector, or trading one shadow for another. Chapter 5. The Blade and the Pluck. Moonlight winked along the tips of raised pikes as Gideon's unit advanced along the forest trail. They smelled the blood before they saw it. No captain would normally ride this far from the city. No mayor would leave its walls so exposed. In Veyrith, Gideon Valen was both, and the city could afford neither luxury nor caution.
By the gods, one of the men breathed.
The clearing opened into a slaughterhouse. Goblins lay scattered in ugly stillness, bodies twisted where they had fallen, each pinned by black-feathered arrows placed with deliberate precision. Some bore no wounds at all, save for an oily, inky mark burned into their throats. Magic without heat, without flame. Gideon dismounted and crouched beside one corpse, brushing dirt from the mark with his gauntlet. A black feather. The same sigil he had found on the crow-eyed priest.
2 massacres in as many nights,
he said, voice controlled but tight at the edges.
different targets. Same hand.
A guard spat into the grass. Who fights like this? Not even the flock leaves work so clean.
No,
Gideon said, rising. His gaze combed the tree line, mapping sight lines and approach routes.
the flock are butchers, fire and terror. This.
He gestured to the bodies, the spacing, the angles.
This is a hunter.
The men shifted uneasily.
Sir, another called. A goblin was pinned upright to a tree, a single arrow through its chest. Same mark as the tower!
Gideon's jaw tightened.
Search the perimeter. No one moves alone. Whatever did this may still be near.
As the guards spread out, Gideon stared into the woods. 2 massacres. 1 killer. Not the same purpose. The flock killed to spread fear. This killer was sending a message, and someone was meant to read it. Quincy crouched on a rocky ridge overlooking the valley, bow resting lightly in his grip. Every muscle protested. Bandages bound his ribs tight, but each breath still burned. The last sore had taken more than he liked to admit. His body answered a fraction slower than usual. Pain would matter later. Right now, the flock was still moving, still killing. The farmstead below had once been alive. Now it was ruin. The barn lay collapsed in a tangle of beams. The farmhouse is a blackened husk. Livestock and villagers alike lay scattered in the mud, left beneath torchlight like a display. This wasn't raiding. It was theater. Movement stirred below. Goblins parted as something larger stepped forward. An orc, nearly 8 feet of scarred muscle. Ash and blood striped his skin in ritual lines. His armor was scavenged from a dozen kills, each plate etched with crude crow feather symbols. Across his shoulders rested a serrated greatsword, its teeth catching firelight like a predator's grin. Not just size, control. At a single barked command, the goblins snapped into formation, tight, reactive, trained, not a raider, a commander. The last warlord of the flock's broken force. The orc sniffed the air. Yellow eyes swept the valley. His mouth curled. He sensed something. Quincy knocked an arrow.
Seal.
A feather sigil bloomed on a goblin's throat. The arrow flew. The body dropped. Another, then a third. Pick them apart. Break the ring before it hardens. The goblins fell cleanly, one by one. The commander did not panic. He barked a sharp order. Formation tightened, shields lifted, backs turned inward.
Coward! Come face me and die like prey!
Quincy's smile was thin.
Submit.
Darkness rolled outward, swallowing torchlight. The void spread wide. He still saw clearly within it, but the effort pulled at his focus, a faint drag behind the eyes. For the goblins, it was terror. For Quincy, it was advantage. He moved through the dark with full sight, striking where they couldn't see. Steel flashed, arrows found gaps, bodies fell. The commander surged forward, not swinging at shapes, but at patterns, reading movement, anticipating angles. A strike clipped Quincy's shoulder. Another split the earth inches from his skull. Not blind. Hunting. Quincy rolled, loosed, repositioned. 3 more arrows struck before the orc sagged to one knee. Blood pooled beneath him.
You think,
the orc rasped,
you've won.
Quincy drew a black feather.
Witness the light end, he said, and know the darkness spreads.
The arrow pierced the orc's heart. Stillness followed. He began the ritual. Shadow light shimmered around the feather. Then the knight chuckled. Low, close.
So,
a voice rumbled.
the little shadow thinks himself a predator.
Quincy turned. The enforcer stepped from the ruined barn. He dwarfed the commander. Jagged black armor, a cracked, beaked mask, pale eyes that did not blink, a colossal rune-carved axe resting easily in one hand. He hadn't rushed. He hadn't hidden. He had simply waited.
You've butchered my flock,
he said calmly.
Stolen their purpose.
Quincy rose, bow ready. Too soon, too drained.
Submit!
Darkness fell again, thinner now. The enforcer walked through it as if it meant nothing, as if the dark itself betrayed Quincy's position. Arrows struck and shattered against armor. A hand like iron closed around Quincy's throat and lifted him. The darkness collapsed.
You are prey.
Air fled his lungs. Vision narrowed. Then Umbria's voice slid into his mind. Run, my little shadow. Not kind, not gentle. A command.
Run.
His fingers found the feather charm.
Saw!
The shadow seized him roughly, tearing him free. He reformed 30 feet away, boots skidding in mud, ribs screaming. He didn't aim, didn't posture. He ran. The enforcer's roar chased him into the dark.
Run, little shadow!
Hours later, Quincy collapsed in a moss-choked clearing. His bow was splintered, his cloak torn. Every breath tasted like copper. Alive, barely. The commander had been skill. The enforcer was war. I need to be stronger, faster, smarter, or there won't be a next time. The night was quiet, but he knew better. The enforcer was still out there, and next time, he would not let prey escape. Chapter 6. The Black Hollow. Quincy did not remember the journey back. Only fragments remained. Pain flaring white behind his eyes, bark tearing at skin, the ragged rasp of his own breathing as he staggered through forest and fog. By the time the lights of Veyrith broke through the mist, he was half dead and running on what little instinct remained. The alley behind the Silver Gull stank of stale beer and old blood. He lurched into it, one hand clamped to his ribs, each step a small war. His cloak hung in shredded ribbons, black feathers drifting loose behind him like the remnants of a broken wing. The enforcer's grip had nearly crushed the life from him. Too fast, too strong. He had escaped on shadow and luck was already thinning. The words still rang in his skull. The blade comes to cut, and so must be plucked. Not a threat, a promise. The tavern door banged open, spilling warm light and noise into the alley. Marla stepped out and froze. Her usual smirk vanished.
Quincy!
She breathed.
Gods, you look like hell.
Feel like it,
he rasped.
Inside, now.
She didn't wait for argument. For all her slight frame, she hauled him into the back room. A cramped den of maps, blades, ledgers, and a single lantern hissing over a scarred table.
Sit.
She shoved him into a chair and went straight for water and bandages. He hissed as she cut away cloth. The wound along his ribs was deep and jagged, its edges faintly smoldering. Shadow burn, not steel.
Damn it, Quinn,
she muttered.
What did this?
The York party's done,
he panted.
Handled. But then...
His jaw locked.
Something else. Not another fighter. Worse.
Her hands stilled.
The murder,
she said quietly, like naming a curse.
Not the flock. The hands that guide them.
Quincy looked up sharply.
You kicked a nest you didn't know existed.
She continued.
The one who hit you, the enforcer, he's their shield.
She cinched the bandage tight. Quincy grunted.
Shields exist to protect something.
She went on.
Someone. And there are others like him, each built for a different ending.
Her lip curled.
They don't just kill. They dismantle.
I faced killers before,
Quincy said.
Not like this.
Her voice roughened.
If they sent the enforcer, you've got their attention. You're not hunting them anymore, Quinn. They're hunting you.
Unease flickered across his face. Brief, but real.
Then I get better,
he said quietly.
Stronger, faster, whatever it takes.
You'd better,
she shot back.
Because if you keep charging in blind, you're going to get yourself killed. And unlike me, you don't have an understudy.
She finished wrapping his ribs and leaned back.
Rest tonight. Tomorrow, I dig for where they've gone to ground. Meet me here tomorrow night.
He nodded once.
Good,
she said.
And try not to pick a fight with another enforcer before then.
Across the city, Gideon Valen moved through the marketplace, returning nods and greetings. Children waved. Fishermen thanked him for the doubled watch. He answered each with practiced calm. Veyrith didn't just look to him for protection. They looked to him for hope.
Captain Valen!
A baker called.
Is it true about the farmstead?
I don't have the full report yet,
Gideon replied.
Riders are confirming details.
A murmur spread.
We'll protect this city,
he added, standing straighter than he felt.
We always have.
Some faces softened. Others didn't. When the crowd thinned, he pressed a palm to his eyes for a single breath. First the priest. Now this. Black feathers. A killer moving faster than his guard.
I need answers,
he muttered. This time, he wouldn't wait for Marla. He turned toward the barracks. When Quincy left the Silver Gull, the streets were hushed. He moved across rooftops and alleys toward the one place he'd hoped not to return, the Black Hollow. Its entrance lay beneath the roots of a long-dead tree in mist-choked woods. Few had seen it. Fewer returned, unchanged. He descended until the air grew cold and ancient. His torch sputtered, then died, snuffed by something aware of him. This darkness was not night. It was presence. Silence. Then a breath.
You bleed.
A voice murmured from everywhere at once.
You falter, yet you endure.
Quincy dropped to one knee.
I almost died.
A soft laugh brushed the dark.
Almost.
Shadows surged, lifting him into a storm of feathers. The cavern dissolved into endless void. A colossal raven silhouette unfurled, wings vast, eyes like buried stars.
Do you know why you survived?
Because I ran.
Because I allowed it.
The words tightened around him.
The murder sent a blade, sharp, clean, but blades dull.
I underestimated him,
Quincy said.
I thought I was ready.
No, you underestimated yourself. You fight like a mortal while shadow gathers in your veins. Take what is yours.
Cold pain slid under his skin, threading into muscle and bone. Not healing, binding.
When the time comes,
the voice whispered,
you will not stand in the dark. You will move through it.
Then,
I am the shadow between worlds, the whisper that unravels the light. Umbria.
The name settled into him like a burden.
Remember it. Speak it when you bring me feathers.
The storm collapsed. Quincy hit stone, gasping. His wounds were closed, but not gone. They lingered as memory, as warning. The shadows around him felt closer, quicker to answer. Not free power, borrowed, watched. By the next night he returned to the Silver Gull. Marla waited, arms crossed. A carved wooden talon lay on the table.
They left this.
She said.
Orders. A call to gather.
What does it say?
That's the problem. It's old. Wrong. I'll keep digging. Come back tomorrow.
Quincy pocketed it.
They think they're hunting me.
They are,
Marla said.
Don't forget that.
A thin smile touched his mouth.
Good,
he said quietly. He vanished into the mist. Elsewhere, in a rotting warehouse, the enforcer slammed a fist onto a table.
He should be dead.
Black ichor leaked from wounds Quincy had left. A goblin started to speak, lost teeth for it. Then a robed figure stepped from shadow. Even the enforcer dipped his head.
Then finish it,
the figure said calmly. A wooden talon clicked onto the table.
Leave this where the little crow will find it. Draw him in.
The enforcer seized it.
He will come.
Yes,
the voice said softly.
And when he does, he will not leave.
Chapter 7. The Talon's Secret. Fog clung to Veyrith like a living thing as dawn crept over the rooftops. By the time Quincy vanished back into the mists, Marla was already moving. Threads of eyes and ears slipping through the docks, the lower wards, the quiet corners where truth changed hands for cheap. In this city, whispers traveled faster than blood and lasted longer. By mid-morning, one of those whispers brought her something that made her skin crawl. A carved talon. Black wood, cold even in sunlight. It had been left at the edge of the last battleground. No note, no signature, just marks cut into the grain that seemed to twist when seen from the corner of the eye. Marla didn't like gifts. She liked them even less when they came from predators. Still, she wrapped it, hid it, and waited. Quincy would return by nightfall. He always did. Until he didn't. Across the city, Gideon Valen stood at the window of his private study, watching mist drift between buildings like smoke from a slow-burning fire. 2 guards waited behind him, stiff with the silence of men who were afraid but refused to name it. Reports littered his desk. Burned warehouses, slaughtered dockhands, smuggling crews erased as if they'd never existed. Too clean, too deliberate. No chaos, just removal.
This isn't random,
Gideon murmured.
Someone is steering the chaos. It could be the cult, sir,
one guard offered.
Or whoever took out the tower.
Gideon turned.
Or both.
His hand closed around the black feather from the tower. It felt heavier than it should, as if it remembered the hand that left it.
We find whoever left this,
he said quietly.
Before they decide Veyrith itself is in their way.
By nightfall, the Silver Gull breathed low and slow. Pipe smoke hung thick. Lanterns flickered. The scent of meat, ale, and old blood braided the air. Marla sat in a shadowed booth, hood drawn low. Her fingers tapped a quiet, restless rhythm. The parcel lay before her. No one approached. Even thieves knew better than to interrupt Marla when she looked like that. The door creaked. Cold air slipped in, and with it, Quincy. He didn't enter loudly, didn't need to. He moved through the room like a man used to not being noticed. His cloak still bore tears from the forest. Dried blood stiffened the fabric. Bruises darkened his throat where the enforcer had held him. One arm remained bound beneath his sleeve. He looked steadier, not healed. Marla glanced up.
Late.
Alive,
he said.
Barely.
Her eyes tracked the injuries.
That scar's gonna argue with you for weeks.
He ignored that.
What did you find?
Her fingers tightened on the cloth.
This isn't like the priest's talon,
she said.
That one was a warning, a symbol.
She slid the bundle forward.
This one's different, precise, placed where the right person would notice.
She held his gaze.
Someone like you.
Marla unwrapped the cloth. The carved talon lay within, dark and jagged, its etched lines catching lantern light like shallow cuts. Staring too long made the patterns feel unsettled, as if they rearranged themselves when attention slipped. Quincy leaned in.
Sharper,
he murmured.
At first, I thought it was intimidation.
Marla said.
But it's not a threat.
She swallowed.
It's instructions.
Quincy touched the wood. Cold bled into his fingertips. Not temperature. Something deeper. His shadow shifted faintly along the table's edge, tugged toward the talon like iron to a magnet. He pulled his hand back.
It's coded,
he said.
Lay it.
Relief flickered across her face.
Knew you'd see it. Everyone else I asked? Useless.
He studied the carvings, lips moving soundlessly.
Street cant. Guild signs. Old smuggler language.
He rotated the talon.
2 hooks crossing. Movement. A fast strike.
His thumb traced another mark.
Spiral. Silence. No witnesses.
Another turn.
And this. He paused. A broken circle.
Marla leaned forward.
Meaning?
There's a gathering tonight. Flock leaders. Multiple nests.
How many?
Enough that if they walk away, the docks won't sleep easy for a long time.
Where?
He followed the final mark.
Eastern Docks. An abandoned warehouse near an old water route marker.
He set the talon down carefully.
This isn't just a message, he said. It's a command.
His voice cooled.
And bait. They wanted me to read it.
The tavern noise seemed to retreat from their table.
You can't go alone,
Marla said.
That's a death trap.
I don't need all of them, Quincy replied. Just the one giving orders.
You barely survived one enforcer.
Something stirred at the back of his mind. Umbria, listening. Silent. Good. Let her watch.
Then I won't fight the same way,
he said. Frustration flashed across Marla's face. She grabbed his wrist.
Promise you'll come back.
Something flickered in his eyes. Guilt, maybe doubt.
I'll try.
Her grip lingered, then loosened.
Fine,
she said.
I'll dig on the leaders, faces, habits, anything that gives you an edge. Meet me tomorrow night, if you live.
If I live,
he echoed. He paused over the talon. The enforcer's voice crawled up from memory. The blade comes to cut, and so must be plucked. His shadow lagged half a step behind him before snapping back into place. Outside, the docks lay drowned in fog. Saw. Feathers scattered as he dissolved into shadow. He reformed on a rooftop above black water, already moving toward the trap he knew awaited. Behind him, the talon rested in the empty booth. Silent. Waiting. Hungry. Quincy walked into the trap. He saw it coming, understood it, accepted it, because this time, he wasn't here to escape. The flock is gathering, the enforcer is waiting, and something else is watching from the dark. Chapter 8. The Shield and the Shadow. The warehouse stank of salt, mildew, and old blood. Moonlight slipped through gaps in the roof in pale blades, cutting across fog that pooled ankle-deep on the floor. Crates leaned in warped towers, their boards swollen and splitting, the air pressed heavy on the lungs, thick with the kind of stillness that punished careless noise. Quincy crouched on a splintered rafter, longbow drawn. His bandaged ribs tugged with each breath. His shoulder still throbbed where the enforcer had clipped him days before. Pain didn't slow him, but it reminded him what mistakes cost. He had scouted carefully. He should have heard them. A flock meeting was never silent. Boots scraped. Someone always muttered. Leather creaked. Weapons shifted. Instead, nothing. Not absence. Arrangement. The quiet wasn't empty. It was waiting. Something's off. Moonlight cast clean angles from the crate stacks, except one shadow dragged behind its source, stretching wrong, as if it chose where to fall. Watching. A whisper brushed his ear.
Quincy.
He turned sharply. Nothing. Echo. Memory. Or nerves finally demanding payment. The enforcer liked to linger in the mind. Then a voice rolled through the warehouse, deep and guttural.
You killed my flock.
Fog peeled back as a massive figure stepped into moonlight. The enforcer. 7 feet of scarred muscle wrapped in jagged black iron. Ritual cuts scored green skin. A great axe rested across his shoulders, runes pulsing dull red like a stubborn heartbeat. Yellow eyes locked on Quincy.
You came to finish what you started.
The enforcer growled.
Good. So did I.
Quincy didn't answer. He whispered the word that stole sight. Submit. Darkness surged outward, swallowing light and shape alike. The warehouse vanished into magical black. Quincy still saw clearly inside it. The enforcer did not. Seal. A black feather sigil burned into the enforcer's neck. Quincy loosed. The arrow struck his chest. The enforcer rocked back and laughed.
You think a feather can cut a storm?
Another shot. A gauntlet snapped it from the air. The rafter beneath Quincy's boots cracked. He dropped. Soar! Feathers burst, and he reformed behind stacked crates as the great axe tore through wood where he'd been. He slipped deeper into cover, breath rough. In the curl of darkness nearby, something stood, tall, thin, head tilted, observing. Not the enforcer, not a shade, not his. He blinked. Gone. A chill prickled his spine. Focus. The enforcer advanced, smashing crates aside.
You killed my flock. Now I break you.
He charged. Quincy fired and moved, precision over speed. Hits landed. None stopped him. A hand like iron clamped around Quincy's throat and lifted him.
You are nothing.
Vision narrowed. Air thinned. Umbria's voice slid in, calm as still water.
Steady.
Not strength. Control. Quincy forced breath into his lungs. Steady, he rasped. Shadow thickened along his cloak and arms, reinforcing rather than shielding. The pressure eased just enough. The enforcer's grip slipped. Quincy dropped free, coughing hard. Not healed, not saved, just given a second.
This time,
he said, voice raw.
I adapt.
The enforcer roared and swung. Quincy met him with movement, not force. Tight steps, clean angles. The rapier slipped into weak points between scar and plate. Blood flowed now.
You can't hide forever, little bird. The blade comes to cut, and so must be plucked.
Quincy slid behind a crate.
Shade.
A shadow double sprinted across the floor. The enforcer crushed it instantly. Too late. 2 real arrows buried into knee and ribs. The orc dropped to one knee, howling.
No tricks. Fight me.
No.
Quincy said quietly.
Hunt you.
The enforcer tore down supports in rage. The roof split open. Moonlight flooded in. The floor tilted under shifting weight. As Quincy drew again, thin, curling runes shimmered on a broken wall. Wrong. Patient. Watching. Then gone. Fatigue crept in. Shadow work always collected its due. The enforcer still hit like falling stone. Umbria spoke once more.
Shatter.
A tool. A risk. Quincy chose.
Shatter!
Dark force burst outward like collapsing glass. The enforcer crashed through a wall, his great axe splitting apart in his grip. Quincy approached slowly, every step measured. The orc glared up, defiant even at the end.
You can't stop the murder.
You're right,
Quincy said.
I can't.
He drew one last arrow.
The darkness claims you.
The feather mark flared. The shot ended it. Silence settled over the ruin. Quincy knelt and pressed a feather to the chest.
Witness the light end, and know the darkness spreads.
The essence resisted, heavier than most, before finally drawing in. At the broken wall, thin runes pulsed once more. Slow. Knowing. Gone. Umbria's voice returned, satisfied and hungry.
Well done, little shadow. But more blades remain. The enforcer was only a talon. The hand still reaches.
Quincy didn't answer. He was too busy breathing through the ache in his ribs and the tremor in his hands. Victory always cost more than the strike itself. Saw. Feathers scattered. When the mist settled, the warehouse stood empty but for ruin, and a single feather fading before it touched the floor. Chapter 8. The Shield and the Shadow. He didn't overpower him, didn't outmatch him. He outlearned him. But the enforcer wasn't a threat, just a piece of it, and something else is still watching. The story continues. Stay sharp. Chapter 9. The Blade Must Cut. The chamber was drowned in shadow. A single lantern burned at the center of a scarred table, its flame trembling as if it knew it did not belong. Light caught on fragments, steel, muscle, a flash of teeth, while the rest dissolved into silhouettes that never fully settled. The air hung thick and hot.
The shield has fallen, said a smooth, deliberate voice.
The strategist.
The enforcer is no more.
Silence stretched. Then a roar split the dark. The butcher surged forward, cleaver crashing into the table hard enough to split the grain.
What?
He bellowed.
You said he was unbreakable, that no shadow could touch him. How does a human kill the shield?
The strategist did not flinch.
Because,
he said calmly,
the shield was never meant to endure. He was meant to measure.
The butcher's rage stalled. Confusion replaced it.
You planned this?
A faint smile curved in the lantern light.
You could gut me,
the strategist said mildly.
But then who would aim your hand?
The butcher breathed hard through his teeth.
The blade, he growled. I will tear this shadow apart.
Then go,
the strategist murmured.
Make him choose between his mask and the city he pretends not to love.
The butcher grinned, wide and ugly, and stomped into the dark. The lantern shivered in his wake. Fog draped Veyrith in gray. Quincy moved through it with his hood low, cloak tight. Every step tugged at bruised ribs and drained reserves. His throat still burned from the enforcer's grip. Pain he could manage. Silence he couldn't. Umbria had not spoken since the warehouse. That absence pressed at him. A figure stepped from the mist. 2 guards followed. Quincy's hand slid to his rapier.
"Relax,"
came a calm voice.
"If I wanted you dead, you'd already be bleeding."
Gideon Valen. Dawn caught in his hair, crest on his cloak, sword loose but ready. Quincy studied him. Their shadows stretched across the street. His reached Gideon. Gideon's stopped short. A thin strip of pale stone divided them. Quincy blinked. The gap vanished. Fog, angle, fatigue, probably.
"You've been busy,"
Gideon said. He held up a black feather.
"Priest, enforcer, nests wiped clean. And always this."
Quincy said nothing.
"Who are you?"
Gideon pressed.
"An ally, or a storm waiting to turn?"
Would it change your answer?
Quincy asked. Before Gideon could reply, a roar shattered the street. Windows rattled. The butcher burst into view, twin cleavers slick with old blood.
"Hear me, vermin of Veyrith!"
He described Quincy in brutal detail, then spoke Marla's name. Panic rippled outward. Fear spread faster than flame. Gideon and Quincy locked eyes. No alliance spoken, no trust given, only necessity. They ran. They hit the square as the butcher's cleavers came down. Gideon shoved Quincy aside. Stone exploded.
"Saw."
Quincy reformed behind the butcher and fired. The cleaver knocked it aside.
"Fast!"
the brute roared.
"Good! Break faster!"
Chaos swallowed the square. Gideon fought with disciplined precision, forcing the butcher's swings wide, protecting fleeing civilians. Quincy struck from angles and shadow. A cleaver smashed the bell tower base. Stone cracked. Dust flooded the air. Umbria returned, quiet as frost. Breathe. Watch his shoulders. Strike between weight and recovery. Guidance. Quincy split a shade across the square. The butcher crushed it instantly. Quincy punished the opening. Arrows bit into muscle. The butcher roared and hurled Quincy through a stall. Wood shattered. Then the brute grabbed a fleeing woman, cleaver rising. Gideon moved without hesitation. One clean thrust. Perfect placement. For a heartbeat, hope. Then the butcher twisted. Steel flashed. Gideon staggered. Fell. The sound Quincy made wasn't a word. Umbria cut in, sharp. Focus. Rage wastes time. Shadow tightened along Quincy's limbs. Not armor. Control. He became still, precise, cold. Arrows struck tendons, joints, gaps. The butcher slowed. Then, seal. The mark flared. Quincy drove his blade between ribs. The butcher convulsed, then collapsed. Silence spread. Quincy knelt beside Gideon. No breath, no pulse. The city's steady heart had stopped. Umbria's voice softened. A strong echo. Do not waste it. Quincy hesitated, then pressed a feather to Gideon's chest.
Witness the light end, and know the darkness spreads.
Warmth answered. A ribbon of shadow rose, not Gideon himself, but the imprint of him. Resolve, duty, the will to stand. The body did not change. He was still gone. Quincy withdrew the feather slowly. Marla arrived at a run. Her eyes went from Gideon to the feather.
What did you do?
Saved what remained,
Quincy said. Her voice trembled with anger and grief.
After tonight, there's no pretending this is simple anymore.
He didn't argue. Dawn revealed the damage. Broken stone, blood, too many still forms. Then Quincy saw them. Runes along a collapsed awning. Not Umbria's, not his. Watching. One pulse. Gone. Far down the street, a tall, thin silhouette stood for half a breath, observing. Then the wind shifted. It vanished. Quincy tightened his grip on Gideon's feather. Grief and something colder braided in his chest. He couldn't name either. Saw. Feathers scattered into dawn. Behind him, the square remained broken, and in its deepest shadows, the runes flared once more before fading. Chapter 10. The Weight of the Feather. The tavern was silent except for the uneven rhythm of Quincy's breathing. He sat alone at a corner table, cloak folded beside him. Gideon's feather lay before him, black, polished, swallowing lantern light until it returned nothing. His hand hovered over it but did not touch. His knuckles were split. Bruises ached deep beneath the skin, and beneath the pain, the memory replayed. The scream, the blood, the hollow stillness where Gideon had been.
I kept you close, Quincy murmured. I didn't let you fade.
The words sounded smaller, once spoken. The door slammed open. Marla stormed in, soot streaking her face, dried tears cutting pale lines through the grime. Grief sharpened every step. She saw Quincy. Faltered. Then her gaze dropped to the feather.
What did you do?
She asked. Quincy didn't look up.
I kept him from being lost.
Lost?
Her voice tightened.
Tell me what I did.
His echo lingered,
Quincy said.
Not him. The part that remembers. The part that stands when everything else falls. If I'd done nothing, it would have thinned into nothing.
She approached carefully, like closing on a drawn blade.
When I saw you kneel over him,
she said,
muttering words I didn't know, I thought you were praying.
Her finger pointed at the feather.
Then he was gone, and that was left.
Her voice rose.
Do you hear how that sounds?
Quincy finally looked at her.
It wasn't like that.
Then what was it?
Grief tipped into anger.
Because from where I stood, it looked like you took what remained of him.
Quincy stood too fast, chair scraping.
Don't,
he snapped.
Don't pretend you know what it felt like to hold him while he...
His voice cracked. He swallowed it down.
I couldn't save him. This was all I could keep from the dark.
The feather lay between them, a burden neither wanted. Silence stretched.
You think I don't understand?
Marla said quietly.
He was the only one who looked at me and didn't see a thief first.
Her hands trembled.
But what you did, I don't have a word for it, and that scares me.
Quincy stared at the feather. His reflection shimmered in its surface. For a moment, it lagged behind his movement, like a delayed mirror. Then it matched again.
I felt him,
Quincy said hoarsely.
His resolve, his last stand. That was Gideon.
Or it was what you needed him to be,
she said.
You're changing, Quinn. Every time you come back from the dark, something stays there.
Her voice hardened.
When the truth comes out, don't expect me to defend you.
She turned.
And don't use his name to justify what you're becoming.
The door slammed. Quincy sat slowly. The feather seemed heavier now. A whisper brushed his thoughts.
You are not alone, little shadow.
Umbria. Then again. A fraction late. Thinner. Off. Quincy jerked upright. The tavern was empty. The echo lingered. Not comforting. Watching. Veyrith barely resembled a city. Smoldering ruins replaced market stalls. Guards moved like ghosts among the wounded. Too many spaces where people should have been. Whispers followed Quincy.
That's him. He turns to smoke.
Is he why this started?
He let the words pass. Then he saw the boy. 7, maybe. Ash streaked his face. A crude wooden sword clutched tight in both hands like a shield. Quincy knelt. The toy was still warm when he eased it free. The boy didn't resist. He barely seemed to notice. Quincy slid the sword into his belt. Absurd. Necessary. His shadow lagged a heartbeat behind him, then snapped back. A curl of lightless script shimmered in soot at his feet. Gone. Umbria whispered.
This is what happens when you falter.
The other voice echoed it, slightly out of step. Quincy didn't answer.
Soar.
The black hollow waited. The air cooled as he descended. His torch died without smoke, as if something had closed a hand around the flame. Umbria formed from shadow, suggestion more than shape.
You return quiet,
she said.
That speaks of loss.
I failed.
For survival,
she corrected. He raised the wooden sword.
This is what remains.
Her smile sharpened slightly.
Then take more.
She spoke of echoes, not souls, not life, impressions pressed into shadow, will, memory, final intent. Useful things, if guided.
Gideon is not a tool,
Quincy said.
He died because you lacked enough,
Umbria replied.
Do you want more children clutching toys while monsters walk free?
He had no answer.
What do I need to do?
Stop asking Shadow to wait for your heart. Let it answer first.
Darkness stirred around him.
Teach me.
A feather formed between them.
Choose.
No, not Gideon.
He chose the orc commander. Shadow rose. It screamed. The form twisted, and for one terrible instant wore Gideon's eyes. Quincy flinched. The summon ruptured. Backlash threw him into stone. Umbria loomed above.
Hesitation.
Quincy clutched Gideon's feather. It warmed faintly. Resonance, not life.
No,
he whispered.
Not until I understand what I'm holding.
Umbria studied him.
We shall see.
Quincy pushed himself upright. He would learn control. Before the murder moved again, before Gideon's echo was risked, before no one remained to save. Chapter 11. The Hollow's Teeth. The Hollow recognized Quincy's steps. Not the sound, the intent behind them. The air was grave cold, thick with stone and old power. Each breath carried a metallic tang, like blood on iron. Runes carved into the walls pulsed unevenly, reacting to something unseen. Not fear, disturbance. And at the chamber's heart, she waited. The mystic stood impossibly tall and thin, her silhouette draped in shadow that rippled like oil on water. Her veil shifted constantly. Child, soldier, stranger, void. Never the same face twice. Only her eyes remained. Pale, lidless, unblinking. They fixed on Quincy with the patience of something that believed the ending already written.
You've come,
she whispered. The sound slid beneath his skin rather than through the air.
At last.
Quincy tightened his grip on his rapier. His ribs throbbed, his thigh burned, and his shadowcraft flickered under her presence.
No,
he rasped.
You came to me.
The mystic tilted her head. For a heartbeat, her veil formed Gideon's face, then melted away. Quincy refused to react. She noticed anyway. The runes around them flickered. Some glowed with Umbria's cold light. Others bent subtly toward the mystic's presence. The hollow wasn't choosing. It was straining. She struck without warning. A whip of living darkness snapped toward his throat. Quincy caught it on his blade. The impact shuddered through bone. Another tendril swept his legs, nearly taking him down. The shadows leaned toward her, eager.
You're slower than I expected,
she hissed.
All that power, and you still move like prey.
Quincy forced his breathing steady. He needed leverage.
Summon.
A feather flared. Darkness surged upward into the hulking form of the orc commander. A bound echo shaped by Quincy's will. It held for one heartbeat. Then it screamed. The mystic's presence warped the binding. The echo twisted, rupturing into shards of shadow. Quincy dove aside as fragments burned past. Umbria's voice cut in.
Your will falters. The bond follows.
The mystic laughed.
Even your weapons remember they are not yours.
Desperate, Quincy forced another summon. 2 figures rose. Small, familiar. One bore Gideon's face. The other held a wooden sword. His stomach dropped.
No.
The mystic's voice coiled around him.
Look at them. All you tried to save. All you failed.
The false Gideon struck. The pain was real. Quincy severed the summon instantly. The backlash tore the breath from his lungs. He hit one knee, gasping. The mystic drifted closer, savoring the moment.
You are bleeding yourself dry,
she said softly. Umbria cut through, sharp and cold.
The hollow offers another path.
Quincy coughed.
Say it.
A weapon born from need. Not taken. Turned. Speak its name. Swallow.
The mystic unleashed a crushing wave of shadow.
Swallow!
The runes beneath Quincy ignited. The hollow opened. A void split the air, devouring the attack whole. The mystic staggered as her power vanished mid-cast. For the first time, she faltered. Quincy surged forward, carving a deep line across her shifting veil. She shrieked. Illusions multiplied, filling the chamber with false forms. His strength was nearly gone. His fingers brushed the feather at his chest. Gideon's.
No,
he whispered. He didn't call all of it, only a thread.
Forgive me.
He pressed the feather to his heart. The hollow answered. A figure formed beside him. Not Gideon, not whole. A memory given shape. Discipline. Resolve. The instinct to stand between danger and others. Armor of dim shadow. A steady blade. An echo. Not a man. A promise.
Hold the line,
Quincy said. They moved together. The echo blocked. Quincy struck. Perfect timing. Not practiced. Remembered. The mystic screamed, real fear cracking her voice.
He is claimed. He is mine.
No,
Quincy said.
He chose to stand.
The echo shattered her illusions. Quincy lunged.
Seal!
A feather sigil flared at her throat, locking her in place. He finished it.
Swallow!
The hollow opened wide. Shadows coiled upward, binding the mystic as she unraveled, dragged screaming into the central feather at the chamber's core. Her voice tore thinner, then vanished. Silence fell. Quincy staggered. The Gideon echo dissolved into faint motes of dim light. No words, no farewell, just absence. Umbria purred, satisfied.
She is contained, not ended.
Quincy stared at the feather in his hand.
He helped me,
he whispered.
For now,
Umbria replied.
Every choice ties you tighter to this place.
Quincy closed his eyes. The mystic was sealed, but deep beneath the hollow, something vast shifted. Not Umbria, not the mystic. Something older, watching, waiting. Chapter 12. The Web of Blades. The hollow was wrong tonight. Its pulse, once slow and deliberate, stuttered in uneven bursts, like a rhythm thrown out of step. Runes flickered along the walls in erratic sparks, scattering cold light across wet stone before dimming again. Shadows stretched and recoiled, reacting to a presence they could not settle around. Something had disturbed the balance. Quincy felt it the moment he crossed the threshold. His boots splashed through shallow water as he moved deeper. His ribs were still bound, his thigh wrapped tight, each breath tugging at bruises. But pain had long since become background noise. His thoughts circled one thing: Gideon's feather. It rested against his chest, wrapped and untouched since that night. He hadn't drawn on it, hadn't dared, but its presence pulled at him like gravity. Not yet, he told himself. Only if there's no other way. The chamber ahead pulsed once, light shuddering like a faltering heartbeat. Then a calm, measured voice slid through the dark.
You've been busy.
The strategist stepped forward, one of the murder's inner circle. Tall, lean. His armor bore interlocking runes that shifted subtly, as if recalculating with every breath. 2 curved blades rested loosely in his hands. His posture was relaxed, but nothing about him was idle. His eyes found Quincy and immediately began measuring.
You faced my colleagues,
he said lightly.
Each one left you a lesson. Strength, speed, deception.
A thin smile.
Now you face the sum of them.
Quincy drew his rapier. His muscles trembled, not from fear, but from strain and readiness.
This ends tonight.
The strategist didn't reply. He moved. The floor shifted. Stone plates slid like pieces on a game board. Cracks split wide as angular shadow constructs erupted upward. A blur struck from the left, mystic fast. Quincy parried on instinct, and the real blow crashed into his ribs, enforcer heavy. Pain burst white across his vision. He barely twisted clear of the next sweep, the butcher's killing arc, close enough to feel wind shear his cloak. The strategist flowed from style to style without pause, like a man selecting tools from a rack.
You think in sequences,
he said calmly.
That makes you readable.
Quincy's jaw tightened.
Predict this.
He thrust his hand forward.
Summon!
A feather flared. Darkness surged upward into the orc commander's echo, bound to Quincy's will. It charged. The strategist stepped aside. One blade carved through the echo's leg. Not flesh, but the tether anchoring it to Quincy.
Hold!
Quincy forced. The echo stabilized. The second blade severed the bond. The summon unraveled into drifting mist. The backlash hit Quincy like a hammer. His lungs locked.
Everything you build,
the strategist said evenly,
relies on connection. Connections can be cut.
Quincy answered with speed. The crow-eyed priest's echo rose and loosed spectral arrows. They froze mid-air, then reversed. Quincy dove as his own attack shrieked past. Stone splintered beside him, pain jolting through his leg. His fingers twitched toward Gideon's feather. Not yet. Umbria's voice slid in, cold and precise.
You still defend. Stop defending. Take.
The word rose in him, heavy and hungry.
Swallow.
The strategist's next strike came layered in force and shadow. Quincy did not dodge. He opened himself to it. The impact poured into him like liquid night, cold, violent, overwhelming. His veins burned. His muscles trembled under borrowed weight. The hollow's runes flared sharp and brittle, protesting the strain. For a breath, Quincy thought he would split apart. The strategist's eyes widened. Quincy exhaled. The stored force detonated outward. Darkness thundered through the chamber. Constructs shattered. Runes flickered wildly. The hollow convulsed like a living thing pushed too far. Quincy staggered, but remained standing. The strategist recovered quickly.
So,
He said softly.
you consume now.
Quincy answered with another summon. The enforcer's echo rose, massive and brutal. The strategist reacted instantly. He brought the ceiling down. Stone crashed in a deafening roar. The enforcer's shade raised an arm, shielding Quincy, and shattered under the impact, dissolving into smoke. The hollow flickered violently. Hairline fractures spidered across nearby rooms. The strategist studied Quincy anew.
You're evolving,
He admitted.
but you're hollowing your own ground to do it.
He lunged. Swallow. The strike halted mid-motion, its force draining into Quincy. The hollow pulsed hard, overdrawn. Quincy turned the stolen power loose. The blast hurled the strategist into the far wall. His mask cracked, revealing one sharp, calculating eye. Blood touched his lips. He smiled.
You've grown,
He said quietly.
that was the point.
His form unraveled into smoke. Gone. Silence spread in slow ripples. Quincy dropped to one knee, breath ragged. The hollow's light flickered like a candle in wind. Umbria whispered.
He retreats because he has learned what you are becoming.
Quincy spat blood onto stone.
And what am I becoming?
Umbria did not answer. His fingers brushed Gideon's feather, not to summon, only to steady himself. It pulsed faintly, answering his heartbeat. He would need it soon. And when he did, there would be no walking back from it. Chapter 13. Ashvarn's Rise. The hollow screamed. Not aloud, no sound could hold it, but Quincy felt it in his bones the moment he crossed the threshold. The familiar pulse of shadow was fractured, uneven, like a heart beating through shattered ribs. Runes along the walls flared in erratic bursts, guttered, then flared again, scattering sick light across wet stone before fading. The cavern was wounded. Even Umbria was quiet, not gone, never that, but distant. Her presence pressed faintly at the back of his skull, stretched thin, like a voice carried through deep water. He is here, she whispered at last, and he does not ask the hollow for permission. That was new. That was wrong. Quincy's hand tightened around the feather beneath his cloak. It was warm, uncomfortably so. At the far end of the cavern, the shadows parted. Ashvarn waited atop the broken dais, vast and immovable, a warlord carved from bone and void. His robes of black and gold shifted as if alive, whispering against themselves. The sigils etched into his bone mask crawled when Quincy tried to focus on them too long. Cold radiated from him, but not the hollow's familiar chill. This cold was empty, starless, hungry. Beside him, half a step back, stood the strategist, watching, measuring, already calculating the next board.
You have come far, little shadow,
Ashvarn said, his voice rolling through the chamber like distant thunder.
You bled my flock. You shattered my talons.
He descended the dais. The hollow warped subtly beneath each step, like a wound pressed from the inside.
In doing so,
he continued,
you sharpened them.
Quincy raised his rapier. His arm trembled. Exhaustion, pain, truth. His ribs burned with every breath.
I'm not alone,
he said. The strategist's mouth curved faintly.
Everyone is alone at the end.
Ashvarn moved. The hollow convulsed. Stone split beneath Quincy's boots as the floor reconfigured violently. Panels rose and collapsed in jagged rhythm. Spears of shadow tore upward. Quincy rolled, barely clearing them, came up slashing, and Ashvarn's first strike erased a column beside him like chalk under a boot. The strategist followed instantly, precise and merciless, forcing Quincy to parry at the edge of collapse. They fought in tandem. Ashvarn pressed with overwhelming force. The strategist harvested every mistake. No wasted motion, no theatrics, only execution. Quincy summoned the orc commander's shade. It rose roaring, and Ashvarn caught it mid-swing, crushing its head in one clawed hand. The shadow burst apart like smoke. The bond snapped. Pain detonated behind Quincy's eyes. He screamed and dropped to one knee.
Pathetic,
Ashvarn said.
These echoes are all you have left.
The strategist's blade kissed Quincy's ribs. Shallow, intentional.
You're out of time.
Blood slicked Quincy's fingers. His vision tunneled. The hollow pressed close, restless. Umbria cut in, strained but sharp. Take the blow, feed it to the dark. Quincy thrust his hand forward.
Swallow!
The next wave of shadow vanished mid-strike, devoured whole. Power flooded him, violent, alien, resisting containment. It clawed along his nerves like it wanted out. He hurled it back on instinct. The crashing surge struck Ashvarn squarely. For the first time, the warlord staggered. Only a step, but it mattered. Ashvarn straightened slowly.
Interesting.
The temperature plunged. Frost spidered across the stone. The hollow groaned, not in defiance, but strain.
This is dangerous,
Umbria warned.
even for me.
Ashvarn lifted one hand. The chasm behind him yawned open. From it rose shapes. The butcher, the enforcer, the mystic, distorted, hollowed. Their forms worn like masks over emptiness. They attacked as one. Quincy fought until his strength failed, until his rapier spun from his grasp, until breath tore ragged from his chest, until he fell to one knee in spreading blood. Ashvarn loomed over him.
"You have spirit,"
he said quietly.
"But spirit does not halt inevitability."
The killing blow rose. Quincy's fingers closed around the feather at his chest. No, he thought. And then...
"Stand, Quinn."
Gideon's voice, clear, steady, anchored. The feather burned. Shadows gathered, not Umbria's, not the hollows, but something structured, intentional. A will shaped by duty. Gideon's echo stepped beside him, incomplete, fraying, but unmistakable. Sword raised, feet planted, a guard's stance, a protector's promise. Quincy's chest tightened.
"I'm sorry,"
he whispered. Together they moved. The Gideon echo caught Ashvarn's strike, holding for a single heartbeat. It nearly shattered him, but one heartbeat was enough. Quincy surged upward and swallowed the force. Agony tore through him. The power tried to rip free. He held it.
"Now!"
he roared. He released everything.
"Hear me! Seal!"
A black feather sigil blazed across Ashvarn's throat. Chains of shadow erupted, binding limbs and torso. The hollow trembled violently. Runes cracked. The strategist stepped forward and halted as chains lashed outward, forcing him back. For the first time, uncertainty flickered in his gaze. Ashvarn's mask fractured. Beneath it, no face, only depth, endless, writhing dark. With a final roar, his form unraveled into tearing smoke. Not slain, driven out, denied. Silence collapsed over the chamber. The hollow dimmed to embers. Quincy swayed on his feet. The Gideon echo lingered one final heartbeat, then dissolved into faint motes. No words, no farewell, only absence. The feather in Quincy's hand went cold. Whatever he had drawn from it withdrew, leaving an ache that felt like loss all over again. Umbria spoke softly.
You survived. Do not mistake that for victory.
Quincy looked at the empty dais, at the fractured hollow, at the feather clenched in his trembling hand. Then he turned away, broken, breathing, and walked out of the dark. Epilogue. What remains? 3 days after Ashvarn fell, Veyrith was still standing. The fires were out, the dead had been counted, the wounded no longer cried out in the hours before dawn. By every measure that marked survival, the city had endured. What no one prepared for was the quiet that followed. Shops opened late, or not at all. Guards walked their routes without urgency. Conversations began, faltered, and dissolved into long pauses where no one knew what should come next. Time itself felt loosened from its moorings, and that unsettled the city more than the fighting ever had. Quincy watched from the edge of the square, where shadow pooled between cracked stones and half-cleared rubble. He had spent the last 3 days the same way, moving when needed, stopping when not, never lingering long enough to invite questions. People tried anyway. He let their words pass like weather. He did not answer. He did not explain. When attention lingered too long, he stepped away and let it cool. That had always been his way. Gideon would have hated this quiet. The thought came uninvited. Gideon had believed in momentum, in choosing a direction and committing to it even when certainty failed. Quincy had always argued that timing mattered just as much as intent. They had debated it more than once. They had never settled it. The weight of that unfinished argument rested in his chest. Not guilt, not regret, just the knowledge that some debts were not meant to be paid, only carried. Near the center of the square, a crowd gathered without being called. Broken things drew the eye. The bell tower rose above them, scarred where the butcher's blow had split the stone. Rubble lay piled at its base. The bell hung marked and dulled, but whole. Marla stood beneath it. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. People leaned in the way they once had for Gideon, not because she demanded attention, but because she noticed what others overlooked. Quincy stayed back. This was not his place to stand. When Marla stepped forward, the murmurs thinned.
"I'm not here to explain what we lost,"
she said.
"You already know."
She let the silence do its work.
"We've had 3 days without Ashvarn, 3 days without orders, without threats, without someone forcing our hands."
A shared breath moved through the crowd.
"And in that time,"
she continued, more quietly,
"we've learned something uncomfortable."
A man near the front said it for them.
"We don't know when to begin."
Marla nodded.
"No, we don't."
Her hand rested on the fractured tower stone.
"When Gideon lived, we didn't have to decide when action became necessary. He chose that moment, not for power, but because someone had to step first."
Her hand fell away.
"He's gone, and the space he left won't fill itself."
No one argued.
"So this,"
she said, gesturing to the bell,
"isn't a command. It's not an answer. It's a reminder."
A reminder of what?
Someone asked.
"That waiting has a cost,"
Marla said.
"and so does choosing."
She took the rope, not to rally, not to instruct, only to steady her hands.
"It won't tell you what matters. It won't tell you what Gideon would have done. It won't tell you when you're ready."
Her grip tightened once.
"It's here so we don't forget that someone has to move first."
From the shadowed edge of the square, Quincy felt the old instinct stir, the urge to anticipate failure, to measure risk, to brace for fracture before it formed. Gideon would have trusted this. Quincy still didn't. Maybe he never would. That difference wasn't a flaw to fix, only a truth to carry. Marla pulled. The bell rang, clear, strong, scarred, but unbroken. The sound rolled through Veyrith. Not a command, not a call to arms, just a marker, a shared breath given voice. No one rushed. A guard straightened and resumed his route. A shopkeeper reached for her shutters. 2 workers exchanged a look and turned toward the docks. The city didn't leap back to life. It chose, carefully, to continue. Quincy watched the rhythm form, uneven, human, deliberate. Gideon's absence remained, sharp, real. It always would. But it no longer held the city still. The bell did not ring again that night, and from the shadows, Quincy remained, watching, weighing, until the world, once more, gave him reason to step forward.